good travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we went to Fontaine to discuss one of the many institutes as we headed to the Research Institute of Kinetic Energy. This week, we're going to Natlan to follow our little Teplosaurus as we talk all about our adventures with Little One.
Are you looking for a flamey good time? Well, you bet Jurassic is here. Join our rambunctious deep dives over at our website, talesofteyvat.com, where Tiff has burrowed her way through each episode with some earthy, horn-y visuals.
While you're on our site, check out our past episodes and seasons, artist spotlights from the community for every topic, and some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let Albedo know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, travelers can feel free to check us out on Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch shop, where all proceeds go to making sure that the show goes on. That being said, there is quite a show going on in Natlan. And I don't know about you guys, but our adventures with Little One started right away, and they confused me right away. A lot of the lore of Little One's early adventures we have covered, but I think it'd be important just to remember that first day when you're walking into Natlan and you meet this Teplosaurus and you say, is this the Archon quest or is this something else? And you're afraid for a moment that you're starting the Archon quest when you really just wanted to unlock a waypoint.
Yeah, because doesn't it like automatically transports you to that area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, you kind of walk right into it.
Yeah.
Which makes sense in the end, like, because you didn't know how to, like, do the whole Saurian thing until that point, so.
Yeah.
But it was like, oh no, I did the wrong thing.
It's like when you, like, unlock the first Aranara quest, you know, and you're like, what is this? Is this part of the Archon?
Yeah.
I don't really understand right now. But we meet Little One, and something important to understand about Little One is that Little One is ill. He has a red mark that is the mark of the Flamelord's blessing, the Flamelord being Shakotl, the original Pyro Dragon Sovereign. And according to the mark of the Binding Blessing, which is one of the material level ups dropped by the Pyro bird over in Natlan, a strange mark known as the Flamelord's Blessing extends out across the surface of the material, and Saurians that bear this mark are said to wield an ancient power of terrible potency, yet given their slighter statures, this power is too great a burden for the Saurians of the present to bear. As such, it has been the cause of much calamity, and many tragedies have stemmed from the uncontrollable power it has unleashed. So we meet this little guy, and he's cursed, and we don't know it, and he's being attacked by, like, rift hounds in his safe space.
Well, actually, there's like an adult one that's getting attacked, and he's in a little like triangular thing up in the air. Like he's like imprisoned in a like one of those like Superman triangles.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to like fight off the rift hounds that are getting the adult Teplosaurus, and then that's when we learn how to indwell. There's a voice that's like, hey, reach your hand out. And for some reason we listen to shit.
It's always worked for Traveler before.
Isn't it like, chosen and dragons?
Calls us the chosen of dragons. So we're like, oh, a title. Sure.
Another one.
Yeah, we love a title. So after we like indwell, then we're able to like open up, and like the cutest fucking tiny Teplosaurus rolls out of it. And he's just like, hey, here.
He's like, rawr.
It's my turn.
We do end up giving him like the little bandana that looks like Amber and Bennett's bandanas. And we tie it to the tail. And that's kind of how we tell him apart from the other Teplosauruses on our adventures.
Yeah, that and the mark on its horn.
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I never even noticed it had a mark.
Really?
No.
You never noticed its Flamelord's blessing?
No, I just looked for the bandana every time.
I only notice it during cutscenes.
Oh, that makes sense.
And they like zoom in on it. I'm like, oh yeah, there's like a red mark on its head.
I just assume it's like a cut. I'm like, are you bleeding? Do you need first aid? We put a bandana on you already.
Yeah, sorry, it's on your tail. You have to bleed to death.
Yeah. Now, this comes the most important part of the whole fucking thing, which is when you get to name your little one. So this is the second time the Genshin has given us permission to name something. And our first being our beautiful, wonderful Wanderer. So we've talked about it a lot, but let's remind everyone, what did you name your little one?
Mine is named Bonky Chonk.
Bonky Chonk.
Is there a reason for that?
It just felt right. I don't know. Because
Yeah.
he's chonky and he bonks.
And he bonks. How exactly does one bonk?
With a hammer. Or a bat. I hear Emerald uses a bat.
Well, there's just something about like when you go underground and then you like jump out. I
Yeah.
don't know. I just imagine him like bonking people with his horn.
Well, mine kind of took a similar way that I named mine. It wasn't because he bonked, but it was because he was chonky. But I named him Roly Poly because that was all I could say in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, he's such a roly poly.
You guys have like fun, active names. I named mine Toru because I named my wanderer Kyo after my favorite ship from Fruits Basket, much to Brandon's dismay. I'm waiting to get my third character so I can name him Yuki Brandon. Don't worry.
Team Yuki.
Oh, God. Anyway, I bring it up and I regret it every time. I won't engage in the argument today. So what's interesting that is that you couldn't name your little one a lot of names similar to the Wanderer misgivings that you couldn't name. So you couldn't name it Traveler or Paimon, and for the most part you couldn't name it after a playable character. Paimon would basically be like, I don't know about that, and would move on. So, you know, you did have your limitations, which I thought was interesting. None of us got blocked, which that's good.
Yeah. But I feel like some people were able to get a little bit more funny with it. You know, like I don't think it didn't feel as structured from like some of the things I've seen of other people's names. Like online, somebody used like a character, not a character's name. I mean like an actual symbol character.
Oh yeah, like an A, like an at for the A and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I did hear rumor that if you named it Hash Brown, you got like a specific thing from Paimon. Like Paimon would say something about it.
Oh yeah, because she wanted to name him Hash Brown.
Yeah, which like, girl, those are only in Mondstadt. Move on.
She could be bringing the delicacies of Mondstadt to the world.
That's true in the form of a
With
on a
delicious hash brown.
no, of a Saurian who's literally on death row. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, after this, we run into Monq, and we talked a little bit about this in our Natlan episode. New Monq.
Yes, that was episode 112. And I do recommend like anyone listening to go back and listen to that one. It's sort of like the part one of this episode because we go through a lot of like the storyline like up until the volcano in that episode.
So when we meet Monq, he explains to us what the Flamelord's blessing is and tells us that our Saurian has it and tells us that because of this mark, you know, your little hash brown little one, whatever, will be rejected by the Wayab and the Night Kingdom when they die. And that your best bet is really just to bring them back to the Children of the Echoes and like let him die there.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
And he's like, he's gonna go mad, like crazy and all this stuff. And you're like, but he's just a cute little guy and you're a rude man.
Yeah, fuck you, Monq.
Which we all know who Monku really is, too.
Dun 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 dun. Kukulkan.
Yeah.
Which, for those who don't remember, Kukulkan is the dragon sage and one of the dragons that ruled over Natlan along the Pyro Sovereign or under the Pyro Sovereign. I'm still kind of confused by it.
He was the brother slash son of the Pyro Sovereign.
But yeah, so after we talked to Monq, we're like, fuck you, fuck that. We're not letting our Saurian die. I literally just got to name him.
But he's very clever because he gives us like, oh, there is a way that you could save little one's life if you take him on a pilgrimage to the volcano. But before you do that, you got to find these two entreaties.
We love a quest. And so these golden entreaties, and they are described in your backpack inventory as white discs retrieved from the ruins of the Sage of the Stolen Flame. It is one of the essential tokens required to journey to the great volcano of Tolan and remove the Flamelord's blessing. Golden inscriptions are etched into the surface, and when touched, one can sense the intricate patterns pulsating as if imbued with life.
So sexy.
Yeah, and so Monq's like, go get these discs And then you can go do a name cleaning rite, which is the ceremony where we would save our little one's life. So we go off and we do a few things. First off, when we first get to Little One and Natlan is originally released, we only have access to our original 3 tribes. So we have the Children of the Echoes, People of the Springs, so then we have the Signs of the Canopy. And for each of those areas, we have a quest with Little One, where we unlock a beautiful area to take photos. We have like the golden underground place that's like beautiful gemstones, but also kind of reminds me of honey. And you have the beach scene. Like it's a lot going on over there. Now, the lore that is told and learned in these 3 adventures with Little One, our first 3 adventures with them, we really covered the important lore bits of that in our Natlan So Far episode and Natlan's War Against the Abyss episode. So if you want to learn a little bit more about some of the lore that relays back to Capitano, Mawika, the Cataclysm and stuff like that, you can feel free to go check out either episode 83, which is our Natlan So Far episode, or episode 87, which is Natlan's War with the Abyss. Once we finish those 3 quests, we head to Natlan. And like Brandon mentioned earlier, we do have an episode all about our adventures in Natlan as well. That's episode 112. And in Natlan, we meet Bona, the ghost spirit. We learn all about our split half-dragon human of Ochkan, who was the original ruler, CEO, founder of Natlan, and how he is not only Kokuik, which is Bona's adventure buddy, but also the dragon haunting Natlan that tries to kill you as soon as you enter.
Not complicated at all.
No, we love a split body. We love brother sons. We're here for it. It's different. It really spices up the family tree. Lots of spice in this area. But if you'd like to read more about Bona, my favorite NPC, and how she helped really Ochkan in the end save the entreaties from Kukulkan, you can check out that episode as well.
Yeah, and we also talk a lot in that episode about Ishlil, who was one of the dragon sovereign lords. And we actually find out a lot more about them in Enefa's story. Well, it's actually an Archon quest, but in the Enefa storyline.
Oh, like not too much.
Yeah, like it goes like deep on the sovereign lords. And I didn't realize that they were not real dragons.
What?
Yeah, they are basically AIs that Shukodal created.
Chat GPT.
1,
2, 3, 4, 5.
It's hilarious because when we meet Ishlil in that statue, that's like sort of the main like form that they would inhabit. Because they didn't actually have like real bodies.
So they were just in stuff?
Yeah, they were just AIs that would inhabit things. So a Hal doesn't actually have, like, it makes sense now because he's like, he wants a body so bad because he's never had one.
Oh, poor guy.
So sad.
But it's a really good quest, so highly recommend.
Yeah, and if you don't feel like doing it, I'm sure we'll do an episode on it eventually. Just don't expect it this season.
Oh, yeah.
We don't do things right away because #spoilers. We want to give you some time to marinate in the lore before we cover it. Or, just pull an Amanda with Cloud Retainer and not do it at all.
Yeah.
And then just hear from us instead. Whatever you prefer. But we give you time.
I think the Enefa thing is an Archon quest, so you'll have to do it at some point.
You could button mash. You could do it physically, but emotionally.
That's true, yeah.
Why did I think the Enefa thing was an event?
It's because it came out at the same time as the summer event, as the new summer event.
Oh, shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong thing.
Literally just like when they dropped the Kale Toymaker event with the Aranara quest with Sumeru.
Yeah.
They just like to confuse you and make you think that everything has to be done right now.
I was in my head putting it together with the Enefa event that there was a sick Saurian and we had to like figure out how to save him.
Are you thinking Aoife?
Yes, I'm thinking of Aoife, not Enefa, and that's my biggest problem right now.
Very confusing. Aoife, veterinarian to the Saurians.
Yeah.
What
That's
up,
where
bro?
my biggest problem is.
Right.
Between him, Kanich, and Auroran, they have one brain cell. And Kanich has all of them.
I think I'm sharing it with them because I have never heard the closeness in their names.
Shut up, bro.
What up, bro?
What up, bro?
You have to say it though now to Bebop, like you're an Effa. What up, bro? Beep boop bop.
The best part is there is a shout out to Lynette where Anefa, who is a robot, is like entering whatever mode, and Paimon says something like, that reminds me of someone from Fontaine that also does like different modes. So that was really cute because I remember when Lynette was first introduced, I was like, is she a robot?
Well, my other favorite thing about Lynette and Effa is that Effa has a vacuum and Lynette has been known to break vacuums.
Yeah. I need them to meet. I need them to hang out.
Oh my god, but what if Lynette, who is chronically known for breaking tech, breaks Ineffa, and then Fremine has to fix her?
But doesn't Lynette break things so she doesn't have to actually do chores? So I feel like she might be Anefa's BFF because she'll be like, oh, she'll do it.
Yeah.
Or she just breaks her instead.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want you to be at chore.
Well, it seems like the other little that we're going to get soon is like a little bit of a creator with her. So she's got her own maintenance mob with her.
It's her Willow to her Buffy bot. Got it. So, long story short, with these 4 quest lines, we have stuff that talks about them and the lore. And the most important thing to know about the Ochka Natlan quest is that we do get what we need to now head to the volcano region and save Little One. The last thing that I think we really get from the Little One quest that I just wanted to bring up before we deep dive into the volcano, because we are splunking into the lava tonight, folks, is these quest lines with Little One also expose us to the golden inscriptions, which are those floating Gatsby era looking things.
Oh, yeah. The iridescent inscriptions.
Or as I like to call them, bookmarks.
Yeah, like it looks like it could be like a metal bookmark. It looks like, like a 1920s, like Gatsby inspired, like bookend. It looks like it's an arrow at times, whatever you want to call it. And these are things that we end up following a lot and they unlock stuff, but they also talk to us. And so the assumption is that the dragon powers are talking to us through these floating things. And we really don't see these inscriptions outside of things involving Little One for the most part. So I just wanted to bring that up as well, that, we do have like the ghosts of Christmas past kind of haunting around with us as well, talking to us and giving us lore drops. But so we finish up in Ochkanatlan, we look to our Little One, and I said, Kyo, I'm about to save your life. And I headed over to the volcano where it immediately erupted and blasted fire at me. And I looked back and I went, Kyo, we might fucking die.
But then you make it inside the volcano and it's gorgeous.
Yes.
Lots of AI.
Yeah, but the volcano is cool, just the whole part of it. Like I kept thinking that we were going to be able to like open a door and walk inside the volcano, and then like the current people were going to live there. Like I thought we were like freeing them. I had this crazy ass thought in my head.
Not freeing the people.
Yeah, I really thought
from the volcano.
Yeah, like it was going to be like some crazy place that was like stuck inside the volcano or whatever. I don't know where I got that from, but I was like, wait a second, what's going on here?
I thought it would be like Mayor Javari around it.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't.
But it's great that when you're told that you have to go up there, as long as you actually listened, which I didn't do in a lot of these places and I took the hard way. There's like a spirit wave that takes us up to the top, because that's how you get into volcano, is go to the top and jump right in. Did anybody have a hard time up there trying to like follow those golden inscription things from piece to piece?
There was one that I almost missed, and I was like, whoa, if I had missed that and like gone to the next little like mini island, I would have been so confused.
Yeah, you would have had to start over again because you wouldn't have understood why you couldn't continue down the quest.
Yeah.
Not saying that happened to anybody, but
because they would sort of like appear like off to the side or like down below or up above. It was a little easy to miss, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
In all honesty, I ended up redoing everything that was like all of the volcano because I was obsessed with what we'll talk about later of finishing all the little one quests. So I like was afraid I missed something and I went back and did them and then I was 100%ing things and I was like,
You're like
where
a
could these
Natlan
things
expert
be?
at this point.
Yeah. I have seen every single like grain of sand on that island.
Yeah, I think any quest line that makes you follow a random object can be really hard. But yeah, we climbed to the top and I don't know, I like to believe that I nosedived in.
Now, did you go in as the bird or as yourself?
Oh, myself. I needed to experience that as
I was
traveler.
trying to go in as the bird and it just took even longer.
Yeah, I went in as the bird.
I was like, where's the like the lever to just land in this thing? I felt like I just kept going around in a circle, like just land, go.
You can dive as the bird.
I didn't really pay attention to how to fly the bird at this point. Like I said, I may have done things a little difficult in all of the places, but when I went back and did them again for the second or third time, I was like acing it.
Right.
I thought you were going to say that you died, not that you dived. I was like, shit, Tiff, sorry.
Yeah, no. I may have though one of the times I went up there because I tried to like walk from one part of one of those stony pieces to another. And there's a lot of phlogiston at one point. So you have to be the bird. But I was like, I'm fine. I wasn't fine. It was not
It
fine.
was in this moment that she knew she fucked up.
Yep. But it was cool though. So now you jump into the volcano and you're just like, okay, where are we going? Lots of holes into lots of places in Natlan. I don't know how you fall into a hole like when they're up in the sky and it's like a never-ending abyss and you're like, what's the physics here? You just kind of have to let it go.
Economia.
Physics doesn't exist.
It's like I'm going underwater in a whirlpool, but then I'm not underwater.
Then I'm in the sky and there's nothing below me.
Yeah.
What?
I just always take it as like that's the edge of the world.
I thought you were gonna say the edge of
before
low.
the abyss starts.
Are we edging Teyvat?
Fucking Teyvat's been edging us.
How dare it? Without
Yeah.
I didn't give it consent. Now, the most interesting thing for me about the volcano insides is the things that look like I like smashed my fist into my windshield.
Yes.
Oh,
It's like the breaking of the third wall everywhere.
yeah.
Especially after doing the Natlan Archon quest where Mawika punches, a hole in the fake sky. It was giving that. And I thought that was really intriguing. Like when I first saw it, I was like, wait, so is like is the fake sky technology like taken from this area? Or is this area using that same technology to create its own fake sky? Because like obviously in the volcano, there's a fake sky.
Yeah.
It's like a little microcosm of greater Teyvat.
Yeah. And at this point, it's like, are you underneath the volcano and then it expands? So you could just get transported somewhere else?
I think lore-wise, it's supposed to be under the volcano.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense, yeah.
When we first get down there, though, it's all dark and stuff. And then we find the cutest little mechanical dragon. And then he tells us he's going to die.
Yes, the secret source servant.
They're so adorable. I remember the things that are cute. Just the way it goes. But the thing was so adorable, and it told us that we were in Tolan, the city of Tolan, and that the Tolan had gotten wrecked when the pyro dragon was killed by a human.
Sorry, that was me.
You did it. You killed the pyro dragon. You ruined Tolan.
I knew it. Hey up, Tiff.
Wow, you guys are betting on me defeating things now? At least tell me so I can swing the fight.
The little servant guy is very helpful and says like as if he knew why we were there already, which should have been a little bit of a sus thing, I guess, for us. Like, why do you know why I'm here? Because they've run out of energy, and he kind of tells us that we're going to find other servants and they're going to help us. But there's only so much like knowledge and memory and energy and all these things anymore because they've been like broken.
Yeah, and we find out that the secret source servant is a robot prototype created to help Shukotl with information recording. And I gotta say, like, after finding out in the Anefa storyline that the sovereign lords were AIs, and then he has like all these robots like doing his bidding all over the place, I'm like, who knew that the pyro dragon sovereign was such a tech genius?
I mean, look at Conria. That's, they're basing it off of stuff, right?
Well, I just think it's interesting because when I think of a dragon, I don't think of tech genius. I think of I breathe fire, I destroy, I fly around, I'm elemental. But this is like he was like basically Google, not to be confused with Google Devada. But you know what I mean? He was like doing all kinds of like technologically genius stuff, which was before the primordial one came and ruined everything for the dragons. So I just think that's really interesting. And even in this game, like the dragons, like their culture is very much like we respect power and we kind of bow down to those that are more powerful, and there's sort of a pecking order. So you don't normally associate that with technological marvels.
Right.
So I just think it's really like an interesting juxtaposition that you don't normally see in fiction.
Yeah, and they really hinted at the genius of the dragons right away in Natlan when we get the device that Capitano and Auroran are trying to unleash. And we learn about like the spirit ways and how there's all this ancient tech in Natlan that used to be from the dragons and no one knows how to use it.
The Phlogiston and the space elevator. Yeah, there's a lot.
The space elevator, Brandon. Oh my God.
Beanie has been activated.
No one has recommended a documentary still. I have asked so many people. I'm still looking for content. Please, somebody help. But it's interesting because you can almost compare it to Sumeru as well and all the Conrian technology that they like forbid people from studying.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how that is taking a place in other areas. So in Sumeru, they're like very aware of it and they're like, stay away. And in Natlan, they're like, we have no idea how the fuck to use this, but it's here. We wish we understood it. Yeah. And then Capitano waltzes in. He's like, you idiots. I'll save your nation. But that is neither here nor there because we are talking about Little One. And so these little AI robots full of technology in this underground volcano Tolan world, they're trying to help us. And Little One is like, what the fuck is happening? He's just staring at us like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. Human.
Human.
Human and Paimon.
There's a part of me that wishes Little One did have a voice, though. I mean, outside of his cute little row.
And he gets pretty deep by the end of this quest.
Yeah, and so the secret source servant tells us that we need to go into the deepest fissure of the mountain to reach the heart of the mountain. But first, it makes us like cleanse these like different phlogiston units of abyssal corruption so that we can continue on. So that takes us a little while. But then we do that, and then we get to go down further into the crevices of the mountain until we get to the heart of it.
And we see so many Kukulkan ghosts. So many. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, Kukulkan, Kukulkan, Kukulkan.
Yeah.
He's
I was like, are they all the same
Monku.
person? Like, are these
Monku.
just different ones? I was like, why am I on like a Ferris wheel of them?
Well, I think that's also like what the Dragonborn looked like in their normal form.
That makes sense.
Because later on we see like sort of like ghosts, like phlogiston ghosts of other Dragonborn that look just like him.
Oh, that's a good point. That could definitely be it. So then we go underground and we're in this pool of phlogiston lava and we're trying to avoid getting hit as we fix everything as per usual because we don't know anything, but we're going to fix it.
And I felt like there was a lot more in the volcano for us to do that wasn't important.
Yeah.
Like once we got in there, like there was like the first area that looked a little bit more like Eden. And then we were getting to, we were swimming in lava. And then there was another part where we're like in a ruin and stuff. And I feel like there was a lot of cool things to do.
Yeah.
But I felt like they weren't like telling us much.
Yeah, they weren't like ultimately important, but it was definitely like fun to explore.
Yeah.
It was kind of like Ochka Natlan because we did a lot of that in that region too, where you're like unlocking all the waypoints and doing all that crap.
It was kind of like a land within a story.
Yeah. I thought they did a great job though of like inside the volcano. I was really excited about it. Like I had a great time playing that area.
Even though it was like near the last thing to open in Natlan, it's the first thing I 100%ed because I did it. I enjoyed it so much.
I was there when she did that.
It's like, this place is great. Da, 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 da.
I was asking Tiff for help, but I was like, wait, what? What am I doing? I was very confused.
Yeah.
So we make it down to the deepest crevasse.
You talk about my crevasse. How dare you?
The deepest crevasse.
That's mine.
And then we activate our 2 golden entreaties, which we had collected in previous adventures. And so they get combined into one, and they form this like bright light that teleports us, ?
We willingly walk into.
Yeah. We're like, touch it, touch the light.
Carol Ann was told
Yeah.
to stay away from the light. Run from the light. And then it was come to the light. And nobody could figure out what they want you to do with the light.
I know, but then Zelda's like, go towards the light.
Yeah.
And then her parents like, don't do it. Stay away from the light.
Tell her to run to the
We're talking about the movie Poltergeist, the OG Poltergeist, by the way. And so we touch the light. We don't listen to our parents. And we listen to Zelda Rubinstein. And we go into the light. And then after teleporting, we have to fight a giant primeval source dragon mech, which ultimately freezes the Traveler and Paimon, leaving little one to try to free us.
Can we just talk about this for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I know we're talking about the lore, but that thing fucking sucked.
Yeah, I was like, is this just like really hard? Or is it like, I didn't know at first that it was like, oh, you're going to lose whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it was like the Raiden one. Like, you just needed to wait. But I was like fighting my life. I died multiple times.
Yeah. Aren't you like Traveler during that fight? And you're like whacking on this giant mech with your little sword. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't doing anything.
I was Pyro Traveler.
I mean, I was just gonna say, if you're me, you're Pyro Traveler that you haven't leveled up. You just for finishing getting your constellations for. So you're like,
You're doing like 300 damage.
yeah, I'm like, fuck, man. Like, at least give me Animo Traveler. Let me prepare.
Yeah.
And I will say too, so for me, when I was doing this, I was actually sharing my screen with Tiff. And Tiff was getting confused. She thought it was a different part. And she was like, this is going to be the hardest fight of your life, Amanda. She was like, this is going to be so fucking hard. And then all of a sudden I was done. And she was like, are you fucking kidding me? She was like, you did that in like 3 seconds. And I was like, I have a feeling we're missing something. And we were. Tiff had skipped a step.
But there was a part of me that I was just really like, I need to quit this game. I suck so bad.
And I was like, Tiff, my Pyro Traveler doesn't even have an artifact.
And I was like, mine does, and I couldn't do it.
And what was your thoughts, though? So just, I guess, bringing it back to Little One, on the fact that they made us play as Little One.
Are you talking about specifically during this fight?
Well, how we like follow Little One, right? Like Traveler and Paimon are frozen. And we have to kind of follow Little One as he talks with Kukulkan now.
Yeah, so Kukulkan shows up as we're frozen, and Little One is like the only free one. And he was like, this is all a part of my master plan.
And Little One's like, rawr.
I liked it that they branched off and let us operate as Little One, because I feel like they had been setting that up. Because remember at the end of Ochka Natlan, there's basically a part where Kukulkan is talking to Little One.
Mm-hmm.
And you start questioning like, oh, the chosen of dragons is actually referring to Little One. I mean, we find out that it's referring to both of us.
Right, which shocks Kukulkan.
No, I think Kukulkan is the one that designed it that way, didn't he?
Oh, I thought he seemed kind of mad at the end with Little One. Like, oh, you'd pick a human over me. Like, they don't love you.
Oh, yeah.
Like...
But I think it was his design to get a human to bring a saurian to the volcano, knowing that dragons had devolved over the years.
Well, I think there was like kind of 2 parts of it, though, because the reason why Kukulkan needed us to bring the entreaty, because Xbalanque made it so only a human could actually carry that into the volcano. So Kukulkan needed us to think that we were very important to save Little One.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it was Little One that was the chosen one. He just needed, like, we were a conduit, basically. We were his rideshare to get him there so we can carry the entreaties and drop
yeah,
him
we
off.
were Little One's Uber driver.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I was going to drive anyone.
Because then we find out, too, that, like, the whole idea of the Flamelord's blessing isn't really what it's been seeming like. Because Kukulkan was really just trying to, he, like, started a rumor because he wanted to use the blessing for himself. And he knew that the only way that could happen is if a human brought a Saurian over. And I guess he knew that we were going to be like, you know, cute little Saurian needs to survive. We're going to do anything we can. He was like, they have humanity. They'll do it. Bring them on over.
Yeah. And that goes back to our theory that the current day Monku that we meet, who originally tells us about the Flamelord's blessing and is the one who is like, well, actually, if you think you're up for it, you can try to save their life by getting these entreaties. Like, it all makes sense that he's sort of orchestrating this whole thing to get a capable person to ride share the little Saurian over to the volcano.
The one thing that's important too that we kind of just skip though is that while we're talking to Little One, we're seeing all this. Little One's not so little anymore. Little One all of a sudden is big. It's almost slightly like you're like, did he just grow up in front of my eyes? And it's like the Phlogiston, like because he used like his power basically and all the Phlogiston that was there, like it made him like kind of grow up a little bit.
Yeah, and Kukulkan helps Little One channel their energy to like temporarily achieve that like mature dragon form, which enables Little One to speak words and he's more intelligent, but also keeping a same form. And Kukulkan actually mentions that if we hadn't done it with the proper guidance, the strength of it would have warped his form. And he's also kind of like surprised by how much Little One is able to wield the power in his blood so well without training. So I think that's all coming together to like explain like how he's able to sort of morph into mature Little One.
And he's a descendant. He's like an OG kind of. The Flamelord's blessing isn't just that you've been given these powers, but you're actually part of the bloodline. So like he was pretty strong. And it probably makes sense why they always said they were extra strong too.
Yeah, it's interesting because Kukulkan goes way back into the lore and talks about the primordial one.
Yeah.
And how the primordial one saw the phlogiston-rich soil of Natlan as like a holy soil phenomenon, which is I thought was cool because it reminded me of Fontaine and the sea, the primordial sea. And so there was like the dragon of the primordial sea, and that was sort of like the source of all the life in Teyvat. So I thought that it was cool that they go back and they're like, the primordial one saw this phlogiston-rich soil of Natlan as the holy soil, because it's sort of like the primordial sea, where it's like, oh, there's this natural thing happening with the dragons where I can actually take this over and use it for, you know, my creation of humankind and whatever else I want to make. And Kukulkan tells us that the primordial one then sent down the sky nails to destroy the land. And because dragons are just extremely adaptable by nature, they survived the destruction of the Skynail disaster by devolving. And that's why the dragons in current day Natlan are, you know, they can't speak and they're a little dumbed down because they have devolved over time to adapt to the disaster of the Skynails.
What a crazy lore drop that was.
I like that you went so high there. Didn't hear it.
Yeah.
It was Scott and that's it. Do it again.
Skynail.
There you go.
Skynail. Sorry, I'm really hyped.
So all the Saurians are dumbass bitches from the dragon kind.
Yeah. And so even though they devolved, they still maintain their bloodline, which means that some of them could still receive the Flamelord's blessing through their blood, which is what happened to Little One.
Which is sad.
Yeah, it's like you have a genetic disorder. I'm sorry.
And once upon a time, this would have given you great power. But now it just kills you and drives you to madness.
Right.
But like, do they say, can it only be a Tepetlosaurus, or can it be like one of the other kinds of Saurians?
I think it could be other kinds, because isn't the bird boss, don't they have it? And it drove them mad.
The Firebird.
Yeah, the Firebird. Like,
oh,
I want to say they might have it, and they're cray cray, and that's why they're a boss.
I do believe they also have it. And for a while, a lot of people thought Chaska had it too until her actual storylines reveal that it's an abyssal corruption.
Yeah, I definitely thought Chaska was going to end up having it.
Imagine how cool that would have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could have sent Chaska in the volcano.
Go throw yourself in this volcano.
Just fly in there with your gun.
Did my little fatty fat have it?
Who?
The gluttonous Yamkasor, the Mountain King, Kongamano, whatever his name is. Did he have a red thing?
I think wasn't he corrupted by the abyss? I think his was more abyssal corruption.
Poor gluttonous Yamkasor Mountain King.
I know. Poor baby.
I love that guy. Did I mention how I like the cute things in this game? I'm not sure if I did.
I definitely think his is like the abyssal corruption, though.
Yeah, because that's how they have to like do like the little like bloodletting of abyssal energy so he doesn't freak out.
I also think that's why Enju is so like invested.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't run into Encho in the volcano somewhere.
Yeah, but he was only caring about the abyss.
Don't worry, you'll see him soon.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
What if it turns out that Kukulkan is that Enju is actually Kukulkan? Would that be crazy?
Oh, that would be wild.
It wouldn't make any sense, but it would be crazy.
Like if he's pretending to be Kukulkan.
Yeah.
Or Kukulkan's pretending to be human Enju.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kukulkan, he's like telling us all this stuff. He's like giving all these lore drops. He admits that the legend that he created about, the blessing and the volcano, it was to get a human to bring a quote unquote blessed dragon to the volcano. He tells little one all about the history that we already covered in the Ochka Natlan episode that, Shukotl was frozen in lava, which is hilarious, by the primordial one, which trapped him in a false death, partially in the abyss. And that when Nibelung returned from beyond the circles of the world, it reawakened Shukotl. And then Nibelung was then annihilated by the primordial one at great cost, which really makes me think that Nibelung is a descender, but that's a whole other thing.
That's another episode, Brandon.
Yeah, I know. So Shukotl was then corrupted by the abyssal energy during his false death and was continuously losing his sense of coherence. And he used the last of his energy to create the Natlan phlogistonization array.
I hate it.
Say that.
They call it something else, but I'm just going to call it the array.
The human nuker.
Yes, the human nuker, which can transform Natlan into a land of only Phlogiston. He actually explains what Phlogiston is, which is fascinating. And he says that it's an atom upon which information can be inscribed and is itself a form of computronium, an element that can be used to imitate the essence of any and all things through the weaving of language, aka the iridescent inscriptions / bookmarks. So I think that's really fascinating.
So the inscriptions are phlogiston.
Yes, they are made out of phlogiston.
At its core,
Yes.
pure phlogiston.
It's like the way that it's like language, dragon language is what activates or is used to control the phlogiston or the computronium. I guess phlogiston is like an atom within computronium. And I think it's interesting that computronium is an element that it says, can be used to imitate the essence of any and all things, because where have we seen that before? Abyssal energy. Abyssal energy does the same shit, right? In the war in Natlan, all of these abyssal pylons or whatever were creating monsters. And even the big Natlan boss is a recreation of the Pyro Sovereign. So it's interesting that this light energy, and it makes sense lore-wise, that it can do the same thing as abyssal energy. And because we know that they can cancel each other out. So they're on equal footing.
I feel like I know why Urabashi had to get his medical degree to understand all this stuff. He became a scientist just to understand it.
Yeah, he was trying to be Shukotl.
Yeah.
He's I can figure this out too.
He's like, I'm kind of a dragon. I'm a snake. I got skills.
I got scales and skills.
Summertime scales and tails.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm over here like I think I need a lobotomy to understand all this.
So Kukulkan goes on to explain that the goal of the array is to burn everything in Natlan into Phlogiston, which can then be used to trigger mutual annihilation reactions to defeat any invaders from the abyss. Makes sense, right? It's like a logical plan. We turn everything into Phlogiston, and because of the aspects of Computronium and, you know, being able to imitate anything, it's sort of like it would bind itself to all the living beings within Natlan before burning them into nothing. Basically become those things. It would then be able to cancel out any kind of abyssal monster that comes into the region. So it's sort of like the nuclear bomb that will destroy Natlan as it's currently known, but it will also destroy the abyss.
It's literally a modest proposal all over again. This is the second time that a modest proposal has been brought up here, except they're taking it seriously and not as satire again. Like, we will eat the babies and it will help us. We will burn all humans and it will help us.
Uh-huh. And dragons.
The poor babies.
We're gonna burn everybody except for me because I'm Kukulkan.
Because the pep is going to eat you.
I wasn't even saying me. I was like talking as Kukulkan.
I mean, you're going to survive it all, though, because you're going to be ingested by a dragon. You're fine.
No, because a pep is gonna die too.
It'll screw over a pub. She's like, I thought I got to eat this person.
Yeah.
Like,
and in the
sorry,
last minute, she'll be like, son of a bitch.
I'm phlogiston now.
Again.
I'm phlogistonized.
And a how is also like, no, my Kanich body.
Right.
Yeah.
No. He's like, curse you, brother, son.
So Kukulkan kind of goes into admitting some more of like the backstory that we talked about this a little bit in the Yoshika Natlan episode as well, where it's sort of like his mission statement, you know, because we know that Kukulkan stole Phlogiston and gave it to humans because he was like kind of so over the dragons. Was like, y'all suck. I'm gonna see if humanity can do better. So he kind of admits to us that he was holding out hope that humanity would unite and then surpass Dragonborn, but that it's been so many years and it still hasn't happened because humans are bad at uniting. So he's given up hope and he's ready to like pull the trigger on the self-destruct device, but he's leaving it up to Little One to make that actual decision. And he explains that when Natlan is fully phlogistonized, only Dragonborn will be able to wield the authority of flame as phlogiston life forms. Like, they're not going to be what they are. They're going to be phlogiston, but that they will have authority over the primordial flame. And Little One, if he wanted, could become the Pyro Sovereign renewed.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like tempting Little One with power.
Like, can you imagine being poor Little One? Like, you came out here because this random human was like, we're going to help you. We're going to get rid of this disease that's going to kill you. And now you have like the literal dragon stage telling you that you could become the Pyro Dragon King. And you're like, what the fuck? I just want to live.
Well, first of all, he's like, Little One's head is still spinning from getting like 1,000 years of history, the ability to speak and think critically, like all dumped into his head.
And growing, like becoming an adult.
Yes. And now he's like, oh, I could be the Pyro Sovereign. But then he's also like, but I would be a phlogiston life form. Like, I wouldn't even necessarily be myself.
I don't know if you've ever played The Sims, but you can like just like age up your character whenever you want, like by going to a birthday cake.
Uh-huh.
And I just imagine that's kind of Little One right now. Like, they just aged him from a kid, not even to a teen or a young adult, to a full-on adult.
Yeah, it's like reverse Nahida.
Yeah, now he's wise.
So Kukulkan asks Little One to choose. He's like, are you going to activate the array or not? And Little One is very worried about what would happen to Traveler and Paimon. because he's very loyal to us. And Kukulkan admits that no one knows. And also, there's this really interesting line during this part where Kukulkan refers to Paimon as the little emissary that travels with us. And I was like, where have we heard that word before? Oh, yeah, that's another word used for angels. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
And so then little one, we're given the power to make a decision in the game, which is like one of the rare instances.
I hate this. What did you choose?
Make a decision? What'd you do?
I chose to cancel the activation. What did y'all choose?
I canceled,
but while Fiends was doing this, I was like, choose the other one. I want to see what happens. And she's like, no, fuck up your own game. Don't fuck up mine.
I was like, bro, like, I don't want to kill all of humanity. What if, like, all of a sudden you got, like, a game over screen? Yeah. Like, I'm not taking the chances.
It's basically what happens, too. I mean...
No, it just makes you do it all over again. Like, it loops itself. You can't choose to nuke the world.
So if you choose to activate it, like, I'm going to phlogistonize everything. Little one is sent in this world of white light where time has no meaning. I think it says 10 million years pass in what seems like a moment. And little one exists as like this consciousness in a sea of white burning phlogiston, but occasionally dreams of the past, back when there was tangible land, and then has memories of adventuring with the traveler in Paimon. And then while dreaming or wishing of making a different choice, it then returns us to the moment before the activation so we can make the other choice. So, like, how did you take that? Do you think that if you choose activate, I feel like the way it's worded is almost like, well, that's what happens, but then it just sort of circles back to the before so you can make a different choice? Or did you take it as like, no, he actually gets like teleported back through time?
Oh, like, is Istaroth stepping in to say, make the right decision?
Right. Like, was that like the outcome, but then it rewinds and lets you make a different decision? Or was little one actually sent back?
I took it as little one was back at the same time. You didn't make another decision. It just went, boop, back to the beginning. Collect your $200, start over.
So you think that he was sent back?
Yeah, like he went back in time. Like all the other stuff didn't actually exist. Well, the way I took it, at least. What did you guys think?
I kind of took it the other way of like, that's the ending of the game. But we're going to let you change your mind and go back to make the decision again.
You sure you want to kill Teyvat?
Yeah, or at least Natlan. I mean, I don't know if like the rest of Teyvat was phlogistonized, because I think the way they said it earlier in the game was that it would just be Natlan. So I don't know if like the other regions are affected.
Can you just like imagine for a second? Remember when we were doing our Fontaine episode with the Shade Chamber, and we were talking about Ningguang and Beidou sitting up on the Jade Chamber with the little glasses, being like, "What the fuck's going on over there?"
As the water rises.
Yeah, Beidou's like, "I want that boat." Like, can you imagine them now doing the same thing but turning their direction to Natlan? And Beidou's like, "Is that lava?"
It's like this blinding white light. There would be like no nighttime in Teyvat because there's just like never ending, like bright whiteness, like shining all over Teyvat from Natlan.
I mean, lava like that would have to have a drastic effect on all of Teyvat. Like you said, like, would there be a night? Would it seep into like the ley lines? Like, would it cross the waters? Like, I don't trust Kukulkan to just destroy Natlan. Now, I will say that for me personally, because I chose to save Natlan. Now, I will say too, Brandon, I really thought you didn't.
I was really tempted.
If any of us was going to go against the grain, it was you.
Yeah.
You killed the guy in Sumeru.
I like to be good on my first playthrough of something, and then I'll go back and be evil.
Oh. Note to self. Ooh. Don't take Brandon on a second date.
Like, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 with Al, and so like in my single player mode, I'm like being a good boy, but then when I'm playing with Al, I'm like chaos, evil.
Poor Al, you're like giving her a taste of her own medicine.
Yeah, Al loves it. She's like, let's do it.
Burn the bitch. So because I chose to save Natlan, I never even thought to look into the other option. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know if the game ended. I never looked into it. So hearing this all firsthand and the theories and thoughts that you guys are throwing out there, I would love to believe that Istaroth is stepping in.
Mm-hmm.
And Istaroth is like, not today, bitch. I might be bored, but not that bored. And press rewind. I don't think little one is going through the whole loop again. I think that if that were the case, like they'd have to change some things because I think little one would then remember, like almost like our Subaru's festival in Sumeru.
Yeah.
That we would have to almost play it again too. And it would Paimon would be like, huh, doesn't this seem familiar?
Yeah.
And you'd get like that hint that you were like dropped back into that reality. So if anything, I think it's either Istaroth being like, please no, or the game just booping you back because it's like, you made the wrong fucking decision, you chaos gremlin. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
Because when it happens to you, and I'll include the link, there is somebody who luckily did put it on YouTube. You get your little white screen that tells you the whole story. And it's like, could there have been another choice? And it just brings you right back to like, hey, this is the thing this is the human nuker. And that might be why I also literally just went, oh, it just brings you right back because that's what happens in the actual game.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of it beyond what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes they feed it to me and I go, okay. Because it's like, if it could return to that moment, was there another choice? Like, okay. Yes, there was another choice.
Yeah. No, I like that you just take it for face value.
Yeah, I do. It's one of the reasons why magic always gets me because I never try to figure it out. I will never try and figure out a magic trick because I just want the awe.
Right.
And I go with this. I'm like, oh, okay, it just went back.
Meanwhile, I'm like, how the fuck did they do that?
Oh yeah, I'm Googling it the second I get home.
No, never Google it.
No, I want to do it myself.
I won't even watch the shows that are like, here, we'll teach you how to do magic. I'm like, I don't need to know how to do it as long as somebody else knows. Just wow me. Ignorance is bliss.
No, I have to know what the powers that be are telling us. Is it true magic or is it just me being dumb and falling for it? But I also Google everything. I was Googling tonight what I was told was a Netherlands shot, like something very popular in Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, but basically the person I was with told me they'd done this before. Shout out to them. You squeeze lemons into your eye.
What?
Then snort a line of salt and then take the shot of tequila. And then you're supposed to slam your head into the table 3 times.
What? That's not real, right?
It is real.
No.
It is
What?
very real.
Is
It is
that
a
just
real
like some
thing.
stupid frat guys who did that?
No, apparently this is something from a military. I didn't get the full
Stupid
story.
frat guys.
So I was originally told that it was called a suicide shot. Now, when I Googled that, I was offered many helplines.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Even though I put drink after it, I was getting alcohol and suicide connections. So I kind of got scared off by my Google search. So all of my information is secondhand on this.
All of your Instagram is going to be like, do you need help?
It already is.
Now I'm going to try and find it.
Yeah, so apparently it is like something that I don't know which military, but a military does it. My friend said that they snorted the salt, squeezed the lemon juice in their eyes, took the shot, and then shook their head around. And someone at the table said the most glorious thing. They said, "You're not a shaker."
That is so awful. Like, for some reason, the lemon in the eye bothers me
part.
even more than snorting salt.
Yeah.
I feel like the idea is that like you're in so much pain that you don't taste the alcohol.
It's like, why can't you just like pinch
Don't
yourself?
be a little bitch and drink the tequila.
Yeah.
Why can't you just lick the salt off your hand like a normal fucking person?
Yeah, I feel like tasting the tequila is like way less painful.
Spend the extra $10, get a better tequila, and there you go.
Or
Problem
just have
solved.
a margarita. Just put it in a beautifully mixed drink. But anyway, I digress. That I Google a lot. That was today's Google endeavor. It was very interesting. I was scared by the end of it. I was like, I'm sorry, FBI agent in my phone. I'm fine. I promise. Tell me that you were at least listening to the convo this time.
You activated the nuke, apparently. But if you cancel the activation, as we all ultimately do, little one is like, I believe in humanity and I don't want anything bad happening to the Traveler and Paimon. And Kukulkan asks if they feel that way, even if Traveler and Paimon don't hold them in the same regard. So definitely kind of like playing mind games of like, well, you're just like a dumb little Saurian normally, and they don't really think of you with like this like sacred viewpoint. Like they don't have you on the same pedestal that you have them on. And little one says that what they think of me isn't important. Like I'm doing what I feel is right, which is like a nice little moment for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kukulkan also asks if they're sure, even though they will lose their new intelligence and power if they do cancel the activation. And little one's like, yep, canceling it.
I liked being naive and not understanding. I'm fine with that. Like,
yeah, like ignorance really is bliss sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So after rejecting all of Kukulkan's arguments, little one is like, shut it down. And then Kukulkan's like, you can't even leave this like weird realm domain that we're in. And little one is like, I'll just bust my way out. And so they like punch a hole in the sky, basically,
Okay,
Malika style.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm out of here. And they make their way back to Traveler and Paimon, who are still just trapped in stasis while fighting the mech. And then little one breaks them free. And then we resume our fight with like a mature version of little one who's like way more powerful, actually helping us fight the giant dragon mech, which of course we then defeat. And then after defeating the mech, we see this dialogue telling the Traveler that they always believed in us and to never forget that they love us. I'm assuming that was from little one, right?
Yeah.
So that was really sweet. It was like, I love you, I believe in you, and I'm about to shrink back down and lose my intelligence, which is what happens. And then little one like collapses, and Traveler and Paimon are like, get a stretcher. And they carry little one out of the volcano depths as it starts like shaking and erupting. And then it cuts back to Kukulkan back in the array domain. And Kukulkan is like wistfully speaking to his dead brother, Shukotl, his brother father, and is like questioning why he himself like wouldn't have just raised like a, you know, a quote unquote blessed Saurian himself to teach them to hate the world to ensure that the array gets activated. So he kind of admits to himself that perhaps he does still have some hope somewhere, you know, which is why he left the decision up to the Saurian that was, you know, not really guided by him. And then he disappears in a flash of light.
And you can go back to that little spot and he does not show back up, because I was really hoping he was just going to be standing there like, did you change your mind? Did you change your mind? You want to do it?
I know. I really am curious to see if if he comes back. I'm assuming he will, because I really thought that this quest would end with him dying.
Yeah.
Well, it's possible that flash of light was him dying. I mean, it seemed like it might have been more of like a apparition of him, if anything, too. Almost
Maybe,
like
yeah.
Rukkhadevata, you know?
Maybe we'll meet another Manku and we'll be like, we know who you are. And he's like, really? It's just my name. I didn't do it.
Oh my God, Kukulkan is Xavier.
No, oh my God.
He can take any form.
Now, I do just want to remind travelers that everything that we just learned is as little one about the dragons and this, you know, human nuker and everything like that. So Traveler knows none of this. You know, we as the player know, but the actual canonic character of Traveler and Paimon, they both have no idea what's happening because little one only says that they love us before they transfer back down. So they never actually tell us any of this really important deep lore. So we can't necessarily go back to Moeka and be like, hey, just so you know, there's possibly an old dragon sage running around. He had a human nuker. It was stopped temporarily. Like, this is just like, there's nothing we can do as the Traveler here because we know nothing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of scary.
Because you'd have to go like, well, what else is there? But as the game player, we would know. But yeah, there could be things. We've always assumed that Traveler knows everything, especially because they know about Rukkhadevata.
I love it that as soon as they get out of the volcano and to safety, Paimon's like, oh, little one's dumb again.
Same time on same.
I was like, that was interesting.
One of my favorite things though is after, because now like you've done all of your things with like the volcano and this ends your story, your main thing with Little One, is that there's a hidden thing that happens with Little One. And that is that you can finish all of the Little One quests and actually there's another quest that pops up. This is the one that during our Natlan episode that Beast told us about. It's 29 steps to complete the Little One quest line.
It's like I'm in AA.
Yeah.
So much.
One of the things, though, that happens during one of the quests you have to do is you actually find a saurian egg. And there's a researcher that was like incubating it. And we take it and we bring that egg back because Little One needs to rest up after all of his fighting. And we go to Little One's little area and the egg is there, just hanging around, just sitting there. And this is kind of where Little One hangs out when you're done with all your, like with the actual Archon story, the important
like
stuff.
where you first meet him too.
Yeah, and it's on your map now, so like you can go in. And once you finish all these things, which also includes like you have to go get him jewelry and he gives you a stick. It's cute.
Yeah, I liked the jewelry. It was fun.
I did too. When you figure out that you finally did your 29 steps, you actually get to take a little photo with him. And that's how you know that you're at the end. So if you've taken a photo with Little One, go back to the resting area, because when you go in, you'll see that I think there's another camera in there too, actually, because you take a photo with them. I'm sorry. Am I confusing the two? I think you take a photo with him at one point that makes you know you have to go back in. And I thought we took a photo in there too. I could have that a little mixed up, so I apologize. But you go back in there and he's just like, hey, I think I gotta go. And Paimon is distraught. Like she is just like she's sobbing and she's just like, you have to go on your own adventure. Like, why don't you want to keep traveling with us? And then she's like, did Paimon do something to make you mad?
He's like, yeah, you called me dumb.
To my face. You didn't even say it to the traveler while I was like looking the other way.
But Traveler understands. We're like, we get it. You have to do your own adventure. And he leaves. That is when you take the picture with him. But there is something else that triggers at the end when you know that you got, like, when you know that you're done with all the quests, there's a little thing that happens. And it might just be that the quest pops up. So I apologize if I have that part wrong. But you do take the picture with him then. Where this picture goes, don't know, because it's not my teapot. Should be in my teapot. It's not. I'm very upset about it.
Let me tell you, Little One, Traveler may have been okay with this, but I wasn't. My abandonment issues were activated.
I was so sad. I really hope that we just run into him.
Yeah.
He's still got his little red mark, because like after the whole thing was done, he still has the red mark. It's not as bright anymore, but he still has it. And he still kept his little, well, no, he gave us back the cloth, didn't he?
How come all these people always give me back their bandanas so I can't tell them apart? First Kari Bear, now Little One. Like, guys.
Yeah.
Didn't Kari Bear's mother... Wait, was it him or his mother that had it? Oh, no, his mother gave it to him. Okay.
Yeah. And then his father tied it to him so he'd know which Hilliger was his son.
It was genius.
So fucked up. But then like after you finish this little quest, because you've already had the saurian egg in your little resting area, if you go back 2 server days later, it hatches and there's a little Tapetlosaurus there waiting for you. Aguara. Yeah, we give him the name that the researcher had kind of given him already before he was hatched back in the Ochkanatlan place where we found him. And he's very cute, and we put a little cloth on him, and we're like, the last one that held this was really smart. But then he's in your teapot. And let me tell you, I've watched that little guy in my teapot for hours.
Just spends like hours.
I do.
She does. She does.
I really do.
True.
It's so cute. He like when you first go in, when he's there, like if he doesn't see you, you just see him like playing around and like digging. And then as soon as he sees you, he runs over to you and like he like roars and like does little dances and stuff. And then anywhere you go, he follows you.
Oh, that's cute.
So I tried to get him to follow me to the 2nd level of my teapot because I wanted to see how far he could go. And we got really far. But then we got stuck in a little cliff. So I said to Fiends, I'll just go back to the waypoint. I'm sure he'll just reappear down here. He didn't. I restarted the game and he still didn't reappear where he was supposed to be. I was almost in tears that I lost Aguara.
Oh,
Like,
no.
I had fallen in love with this little guy, and now I thought he was
And
dead.
she became a murderer overnight.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, like, are you sure Feeny didn't come into your teapot and
That's
like
what she said to me, too. She goes,
throw him
I
off
didn't
a
do it.
cliff?
I didn't go to your teapot. It wasn't me.
I don't even think I had the game on.
But luckily, I was able to because Aguara can't climb. So he got like kind of fell down like the side of a cliff and onto a little beach. And I was slowly able to guide him back to where he was supposed to be. And now he's fine.
What a loser.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Just talk about my baby.
He can't climb anything.
He's just a little baby.
He's
You
just
can
a
tell.
baby.
So is Cosgrove. He can jump. He climbs things.
He's like he's dumber than little one.
Cosgrove? Oh no, Aguara.
No, Aguara.
Aguara.
Poor Aguara.
I was
Yeah.
like, Cosgrove sure as well is, but he can jump.
As a little side note, if you were part of our Discord, you may have also seen me talking about this incessantly because I couldn't get this thing to trigger. And I was redoing and I 100%ed everything and I still couldn't get this to happen. I emailed customer support because I was just like, I was at the end of I had no
Tiff
idea.
Karen'd them.
Yeah. Well, I had seen that somebody on Reddit had done it. And then I was like, then I started going after I followed theirs. I still didn't get it. And I was like, well, maybe that was fake. So I messaged them because I'm like, what's the worst thing they can do? Ignore me. And they sent me the 29 thing. And it was the 29th one.
Oh, really? That was the one
It
you
was
had
the
it done?
last one. It was the last one. In the original Reddit post, it didn't explain this one warrior challenge. And I was doing the one that they said, which wasn't making it happen. There was another warrior challenge that I had to do, but I spent hours again marking each thing off. And then because then they told me to take pictures of it because if it was a glitch, they'd fix it, but I had to prove it to them. So now I had to go to every single place, all 29 places, and take a picture of it to prove that it was done.
This is the most work you've done for your teapot.
Yeah, I needed him. I needed him that much. Like I was distraught. I needed this little guy. So I will include the 29 steps up on the website for anybody who is stuck who would like to finish this. It is adorable and he does stay in your teapot forever.
Unless you lose him.
Yeah, unless you get him stuck in a crevasse.
Murder.
Then I got nothing for you. But luckily we were able to fix that because could you imagine after the hours of trying to get him and then all of a sudden I lost him?
Oh my god, you would delete your account.
Yeah, I would cry. Again, because I was like, I was starting to get really nervous after like the second reboot and I still wasn't getting him back.
The anxiety, I can only imagine.
I was frantically running around my teapot. Beans was able to just enjoy this my entire self dwindling and like unraveling in front of her.
She was like, he probably just mysteriously fell off a cliff.
No, in the back of my head, I was like, she should edit her teapot. Like she could probably find it that way. But
The best is you thought that, but you didn't tell me.
I wanted to see what happened. I was also
my
curious.
Instead, here I am almost in tears, worried that I lost my little guy. And she's just
Listen.
like, yeah, she probably just do this and I'll fix it.
Feeny
Over-
is Kukulkan.
Over voice chat, I couldn't tell that you were almost
That I was unraveling.
Yeah, I thought you were just being normal. I don't know. I was like, this is Tiff just obsessing over something cute. This is normal.
That's
Like-
true. That is true. But I honestly like a lot of times and I've said this before where I'll go into my teapot or like into like the Sea of Bygone Era because I really like the music. So I was sitting I was doing a painting for my cousin and I was sitting here painting and I had my little character sitting on my bench in my teapot was playing the song from Sea of Bygone Era and then all you would hear is from my little like it was my like screensaver. And I painted that entire thing with my saurian.
That's cute.
But yeah, so now little one, the R&R of Natlan, is gone. And he, his memory lives on forever. I'm sure that we will run into him in the Mari Javari or somewhere else
I hope so.
at some point. Or we'll just find him with Kukulkan and he'll be evil. Whatever happens, it happens. But that's our little one quest. So we're gonna move on.
Like little one, we're moving on.
Little
Yeah.
one would want us to move on.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of little ones, Kirara is here in box form for some reason. And she's just growling as a box. So I'm going to take the mail. We have 2 questions this
Did
week.
someone send her anthrax?
No anthrax.
Okay.
She told me that Albedo cleared everything. So I don't know how he did that, but he did. Thanks, Albedo. Our first message comes from Molly, and they said, I have a question for you. Who is your favorite Archon and why? Mine is Venti because I think it's very funny that he's a silly little guy.
He's a silly little guy. Silly little guy.
There's a little baby.
Little diaper baby.
Well, I'll go first. Mine is also Venti. I like that Venti is all about freedom. He's about free will and not being an overbearing Archon, and that if people want to, pray to him, they can. If they don't, they don't, and he'll always be there to protect his people. I think it's very honorable. I know a lot of people don't think that because he's a drunk as well, but I do think that the drunkenness comes from his trauma. And I do think that Venti knows a lot more. I think Venti is connected to Istaroth, and I think that Venti is going to be huge in our endgame. So I could appreciate a very deep man who is just trying to have a silly haha good time while he can.
Yeah, he's so joyful. He's hard
Yeah.
not to love.
Mhm.
Does Nuvalet count as an Archon at this point?
No, you said he's a dragon, Brandon. You said he's going to get revenge on the Archon.
Well, he
Yeah.
is, but he also has the authority of Hydro, right? Like
Nope.
He's not an Archon.
No.
he has his power set aside to give people visions.
No,
like
he's a
Hydro does.
dragon. You can't have both.
So I guess there just is no Archon.
No,
Fontaine.
they're
You
gone.
could say Farina if you want, because she was an Archon for like half a second in theory.
Sort of, yeah.
But no.
I guess I would go with Venti then if Nuvi doesn't count, because I do like that he is just like pure joy and like goofiness. And I think this game doesn't have very many characters that are like that are as important as Venti. Like most of like the really crucial important characters are very serious. So I like that he's silly. He's a silly little guy.
This is a little guy.
It's a little guy. Mine's Fossilor because she took Farina and imprisoned her. And
Whoa.
Take that, Melty.
Whoa, Melty. Melty's gonna fight us in the
I'm
comments.
joking.
No,
Joking,
Melty, she's
it's
not.
Fossilor.
Come for us, Melty.
No, Zhongli is my favorite. As much as I love playing as A, and I love Inazuma, and I love, but she's not that great of an Archon. She's trying.
Meh.
But as an Archon, I actually think it's Zhongli because he's done a lot for the people for a very long time. From back in the Guili Assembly, he fought through. I mean, he killed a bunch of bitches too, so this way he could be the Archon. But I think, like, he believed that the humans could take over. Like, he was okay with the Zhixing. Like, he knew that they were going to be able to, like, Liwei was going to be fine without him. He wasn't going to be fine without Liwei because he forgot to make himself a whole bunch of Mora before
Now
he
he works
left.
for Hu Tao.
By the way, I just love the casual. He killed a bunch of bitches too.
He had to get this. He had to get the title somehow. Technically, Venti did too. So
But Venti killed bad people.
you don't know that the other ones weren't bad.
Well, no, Venti didn't fight in the Archon War as far as
He
we
just had to
know.
like fight Andreas, which
Which
wasn't a
wasn't
hard fight since Andreas was just like, I don't want this.
Venti showed up with like an apple and was like, "Are we cool?"
Yeah.
Yeah, he just killed, helped kill what's his name? The
Decorabian.
Yeah, Decorabian.
Yeah.
And that was as a wisp.
Yeah, that was pre-Archon, yeah.
That made him Archon worthy.
Well, it seems like we're some early on Archon lovers here. We haven't moved on.
The old guys. The OGs.
I gotta give a shout out to Moeka, by the way, because I do like how together she is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like she's just feels like a normal person in a way. Like she's kind of like has her shit together and takes care of stuff
Mhm.
and is friendly. Like she's just like a very well-rounded character, I feel like.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Like, it's so funny because you could have picked so many Natlan Archons too. Like you forget that there's like 7.
Yeah.
But Molly, thank you so much for the question.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Molly.
Our next message comes from Shep, and they said, I'm not sure how to say this, but if you could make a character with a unique backstory, what would it be? Kind of like how Kanich can get taken over by a How if he dies. Mine would be someone who was given the wrong vision. Like they got a vision, but it didn't really fit them, so they got another one, and now they have 2.
Hmm.
That reminds me of I believe his name is Heikuri, which we talk about at the end of our Yaimiko episode, who did like an OC story about me getting two visions.
Yes.
And I made my own like PowerPoint years ago about like characters that receive two visions. So I love that idea.
Yeah, when we did our like Genshin, our friends as Genshin characters, you gave all of us two visions. It was
Yeah.
so fun.
I feel like I would do like a character that maybe used to be an angel, someone sort of like Nabu Malikata, where they just know all kinds of lore because I want to know stuff. So that's sort of probably what I would choose is like someone that has ties to these deep lore nuggets. I want to know more about the angels, what their relationship was like to the primordial one or to the shades. So I would probably choose someone that has ties into that whole realm.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool. Another Nabu.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe Columbina is going to be that.
I would make Rosaria an actual vampire. Because they joke about it all the time. And she does have very gray skin. I feel like it's gotten a little bit grayer. But I would make her an actual vampire, which is why she's up all night, like fighting and stuff, because that's just her regular time. Makes her a little bit moody during the day too, because she knows she's got to like have some kind of like fancy ass like ring, like in Vampire Diaries, to keep herself able to be out in the sun. But she's kind of like whatever. But at night she's just like her regular vampire self, and that's how she gets rid of the bad guys. Is she doesn't slay them, but she eats them.
Do you think she's going to have ties to the new goth guy in Nodcry? What's his name? Flynn?
The lighthouse, the guy who lives in a lighthouse. I love him.
I love Flynn. I was a little like, I feel like every place we go, I get a new emo boyfriend, and I love it.
Yeah, but we're gonna fight over him.
He's my emo boyfriend. I don't care.
I'm literally trying to get him to let.
Auroran is my emo boyfriend. He's gonna be my goth boyfriend.
I'm trying to make a business deal with Flynn.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm trying to expand the Twink Tank into his lighthouse.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to get into his lighthouse too.
Oh my God. Anyway, so this question's really hard for me just because like my immediate instinct is just like to deep dive on my Genshin OC Nat. But as much as I love Nat, I don't think she has like the type of unique story that you're talking about here, Shep. Like she has a unique story. That's for damn sure. But not in the sense that you're talking about. You know, she can relate to a lot of characters, like Kale and Kaya. Like she has a lot of connecting things with them. So I don't think that's really what you're talking about here. I'd really like to see a character that can see the future, but not intentionally. So that's Raven, a Cordelia from Buffy, like someone who kind of gets like these shots of the future and doesn't know what to do with that information.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, who has a vision and feels like they were gifted the vision to deal with the future, but is like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And it could be really interesting if you got a character who was actually seeing like important lore in the future, possibly seeing a battle with the primordial one. I think they could be really cool. They could be really interestingly intertwined into the story because of that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my first instinct was to think like we need a witch, and it's like, but we have the whole fucking Hexen Circle. Yeah. We just never see them. We don't really get to play as them, not yet at least. So I don't know, maybe one of the Hexen Circle witches will have that ability. We don't know. We know Mona and Albedo and Klee, who are like the current, predecessors of Hexen Circle witches. They can't do it.
Yeah, I guess Mona's a little bit closer since she can scry.
She can scry, yeah. She can see a person's fate, but she doesn't see like random things, right? So she could be like, oh, you're gonna live a joyous, bountiful life, but then she's not seeing a vision of you like getting robbed next week. Because you can still have a bountiful life even if you get robbed next week, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I would love like if they gave Lisa like a new storyline that sort of upgraded her and made her like the most badass witch. That would be really fun.
It would be cool if she could see the future. It would make that whole intro where like they've been waiting for us in the early stages of Mondstadt
Yeah.
make sense. Like Lisa was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we're gonna have a traveler from afar." Hee hee hee. But thank you, Shep, for the question.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Shep.
That is it, guys. That is all the time we have for today. Charles is trying to kick us out of Angel Share. If you like this episode and you want to let us know what topics you'd like to see in the future, or you didn't like this episode and you're not going to drug us with anthrax, you can feel free to email Albedo at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com to provide all and any feedback. Additionally, you can follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or on Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. We're also on Threads, Blue Sky, and YouTube under the same name. Travelers can also feel free to check out our Ko-fi, where you can buy us a cup of coffee, or check out our merch shop. All proceeds go to funding and fueling this podcast and making sure that we can pay for all of the services we need to make it run smoothly. Next week, we are going to be returning to Fontaine to talk about our favorite Melazine in jail, as we talk all about Siegewein.
Get your skincare ready.
Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you next time.
Bye, human nuker nerds.
Boom, bomb. Rawr, rawr, rawr.